There we go. We are now recording. And I also do want to let you all know that once the webinar is over, you will be receiving a really quick survey, just some questions that we have about our webinars and maybe some content that you'd like to see us covering in the future. So just about 4 questions, and we would appreciate your cooperation in just filling that out once the webinar is completed. So here, one moment. All right, so webinar, what are we talking about today? We're talking about immigration and human rights within HeinOnline and how we go about doing the research on those topics in the most efficient and effective way possible. Today, we're going to get started giving you a brief introduction about HeinOnline if you are not familiar with it, although I believe many of you are, but really quick, HeinOnline is a multidisciplinary database. We have over 200 million pages of content available across the entire database as a whole. We have over 100 databases available, broken up into different packages and a la carte databases. Over 3,000 journals are available within the database, tens of thousands of books and treatises. We have international constitutions, international treaties, government documents, and the list goes on and on. And obviously, or maybe not so obviously, all of our content is in PDF form when you download it, and it is all completely fully text searchable. And all of those periodicals that we have go back to inception, or volume 1, issue 1, day 1. And of course, we do our absolute best to bring those up to current for you as much as we possibly can. So we're going to, went ahead a little bit. We're going to be talking about researching immigration and human rights in HeinOnline using 2 primary databases, but we're also going to be searching across the database package as a whole. We're going to be looking at the immigration law and policy database within HeinOnline, as well as our free social justice suite, and we'll talk about how you can get access to that if you don't have access to it right now. And then, of course, at the end of the presentation, there will be some time for some questions, but I do have with me today my colleague Roxanne Marmion. She is going to be manning the chat and the Q&A button. So if you have questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to put it into the chat or the Q&A section, and Roxanne will get back to you with what the answers to your questions are. And as I mentioned, Steve Roses, who is typically joins us at these webinars, he is not available today, but he will be returning probably next month. So let's talk about the immigration law and policy database in HeinOnline. I do want to mention very quickly that HeinOnline is running a back to school special right now. So the immigration, and part of that is the immigration law and policy database has a 25% discount off of the first year price. So if you're interested in potentially adding that to a subscription, let us know. There's that that promotion runs until, I believe, October 15th. So the immigration law and policy database within HeinOnline is the first of its kind in terms of its comprehensive, fully searchable format. It includes a number of kind of sub collections of material, acts and legislative histories. So the legislative histories are what comprise up the different acts of the federal government that cover immigration law and policy for the country. They're broken down by title, public law number, popular name, and so on. Of course, we have the Board of Immigration Appeals precedent decisions. So the Board of Immigration Appeals, it reviews the decisions by the U.S. immigration courts. This collection of precedent decisions, it's not all of the decisions that the Board of Immigration Appeals has made over time, but these are the precedent decisions, the most important decisions that are used for legal research and understanding immigration law and policy. Fun fact that I read about the Board of Immigration Appeals. Did you know that in order to represent someone before the Board of Immigration Appeals, you don't have to be an attorney? You do have to be associated with some other organizations, but you don't have to be an attorney to argue in front of the Board of Immigration Appeals. I found that interesting. Anyway, moving on. We also have a bunch of government reports coming from the Government Accountability Office, the Congressional Research Service report, the Congressional Research Service, all related to immigration, federal programs, and so on. Some more material that we have. law and policy titles, work spanning more than 200 years over 200 years regarding the law and policy of immigration. Of course, the Code of Federal Regulations and the U.S. Code, Title 8, Aliens and Nationality, those are broken out and available for you to research specifically within the Immigration Law and Policy database. Extradition titles. So these extradition titles are specific to extradition in relation to the United States. So are we talking about extraditing someone to the United States or out of the United States? Both of those topics are covered depending on which way that person is traveling in relation to the United States. And of course, we have tens of thousands of congressional hearings available, both regarding employment, criminal justice, the status of refugees, immigration in general, and so on. Now let's talk about the Social Justice Suite. If you are not a subscriber and you do not have access to our Social Justice Suite, I highly recommend that you go through the process of getting registered for access. It is completely free. It will always remain free, and it is continuing to be updated with more and new content within the database. The Social Justice Suite is comprised of 5 databases. You can see them listed here: Slavery in America and the World, Gun Regulation and Legislation in America, Civil Rights and Social Justice, Open Society Justice Initiatives, and of course our newest one, the LGBTQ+ rights. So Slavery in America and the World, it's got legal materials related to slavery in the United States and other English-speaking countries around the world. It's made up of works from UNC Press, so the University of North Carolina Press. It's got state and federal cases and federal statutes all related to slavery. The gun regulations in the United States, gun regulation and legislation in America. This is a collection of legislative histories from across the country, all related to gun legislation and regulation throughout the states and federally. Civil rights and social justice. This was created to help Hein expand the understanding of the fight for civil rights within the United States. It's got congressional hearings, congressional committee prints, legislative histories, Congressional Research Service and Government Accountability Office reports, and of course, landmark Supreme Court cases. The Open Society Justice Initiative, this initiative focuses on providing legal support through human rights litigation. It includes reports, studies, and papers all surrounding the topic of human rights. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the LGBTQ+ rights database. This is our newest database. We just rolled it out at the beginning of this past summer. It includes an interactive timeline and subject-coded court cases regarding the topic. And as I mentioned, if you have not registered for it, you can do it directly from our website. It is completely free, and it takes just a moment to fill out the registration form. Then, of course, we will get in touch with you to get your IP addresses. So if you have a firm or a school that you'd like to have access to this package, we can set you up with IP authentication so that everyone within your organization can get access without any issue. So if you're interested in more, of course, we have free trials available, institutional wide access, IP and proxy authentication, live chat, free training, and more. Here's some free training right now. So with all that being said, let's jump into the database. One moment while I switch my screens. And I just got to find what I'm looking for. All right. All right, now. All right, we should all be seeing my HeinOnline screen. If you are not, please let me know. But what we're looking at now, just to give you a quick overview of HeinOnline, if we haven't discussed it already, we're looking at the HeinOnline welcome screen. So this is where you would land once you log into HeinOnline. And if we're going about doing some research in HeinOnline, I'm just going to close this. We do have a new database in HeinOnline, our Water Resources and Rights database. Oftentimes people come into HeinOnline, they're ready to do some research about a specific topic. And one of the things they start with asking themselves or in the process of doing research is, okay, what publications are available? What publications are in a database or a library for that matter that cover the topic that I'm researching? Well, in this case, we're doing research on immigration and human rights. So one of the first things that you can do is, if we go into our advanced search link here, I'm going to take this, and you can see down here we have a catalog search. So the catalog search allows you to do research or to do searches about the publications, the overall publications that we have available in HeinOnline. Now, HeinOnline has hundreds of thousands of publications. So I'm going to jump into our catalog subject listing here. And you can see here as we jump up, we have listed alphabetically all the different subjects that we have available. So for example, if I'm interested in human rights, I can go ahead and leave that, and you can see it's going to jump up and it's going to show me all the different subjects that we have available that are related to human rights. So human rights advocacy, human rights monitoring, movements, and so on. So if I click on human rights and hit that search button, it's going to show me not the article levels, not the meat of publications, but these are the actual publications that we have in HeinOnline that are in a way dedicated or to the topic of human rights. So here you can see Inter-American and European Human Rights Journal. It's right in the title. United Nations Action on the Field of Human Rights, and so on. So this is a great way that we can go about looking to see, where am I starting? What sort of publications are available within this database that are relevant to the research I'm attempting to do? And in this case, we can see there are over nearly 1,400 publications alone that cover that topic of human rights. And we can do the same sort of thing with immigration. So let's go back, and I'm going to jump back to my database list here. And I'm going to do a search in here for some topics that are related to both immigration and human rights. So let's say, for example, I want to do asylum seekers and United States and human rights. Now, if you're familiar with HeinOnline, you may know that you don't have to use the quotes around our phrases here. I'm using quotes because it does help us to kind of limit the results a little bit more specifically, but of course you don't have to. You can plug in terms and it will run a search similar to what we would all kind of consider a Google type search. Here, it's giving us some different options. We can do just search for. That's just going to search across the text available in HeinOnline. Some of the other options you can see here is if we're looking for a specific author, a specific title. So that would be an article title, for example, not a publication title. Citation, if we have a citation to a specific work, a specific article, a specific Federal Register day, statute, and so on. And catalog is for so similar to what we just looked at. If we're looking for a specific publication title, we would put in that publication's name here and look in catalog. But I'm going to run this search, and this is now we're just searching for in the full text the terms asylum seekers and United States and human rights. Now that search across all of the material that we have available to us right now, not just in the journals, not just in immigration, not just in the social justice suite, but it's searching across all the material that we have access to within the database right now. Now, obviously, nearly 15,000 points is a lot of material to suss through. So we can use our facets and to refine those results and really kind of come up with the most relevant material that we're looking for. So, for example, let's say we really just want to see some current materials, things from 2016 to date. Well, I'm going to click that right now and let that refine it down and pull out all the material that's older than 2016 and show me just the last 6 years. So now we've gone from nearly 15,000 results, we're down to 4,200 results at this point. Now maybe I'm most interested in looking to see, out of these results, what's being cited the most? What is relevant to other authors within this particular collection? So I'm going to see, okay, I already have it sorted by number of times cited. So you can see here, this is the most highly cited article within this subset of material that I'm looking at from 2016 to date. Maybe I want to see what have people been reading. So maybe I'll go to number of times accessed and let that run. Now, what that's going to show me is within the past rolling 12 months of HeinOnline usage, it's going to show me what has been accessed the most within that 12-month period. Now, so the surveillance gap, the harms of extreme privacy and data marginalization, that's been accessed 647 times within HeinOnline over the past 12 months. So that's a couple different ways of doing that research and seeing, using the terms I'm searching for, what's really getting the most usage, what's getting the most notice from both the researcher perspective, the writer perspective, and the consumer side, the people like us who are using HeinOnline to find things. What's getting read the most? Two different ways of looking at it. Now let's look for, let's say we really like this stuff, but we want to search within it. So let's say we can click right here. If you're not familiar with it, we have a search within results button. If I click on that, what that's going to do is it's taking us to a search page. You can see that what we've already put in for a search query is still there, but now we can say, you know, I'm interested in more full text, but in this case, I want to look for the term housing, something simple. And now I can run that search again, and that's going to add on the term housing to my term, that's my query that's already asylum seekers and United States and human rights. And it looks like it expanded it to it opened up all the dates again. I can limit that down to 2016 to date, and we would have gone from 4,200 results to now we're at 1,825 results, just with that kind of more specific search query. So let's look at another search tool that we have at our disposal. Using HeinOnline. I'm going to jump back to the databases, and I'm going to jump into the Law Journal library. And in this case, we are going to run a Venn diagram search. Once that loads up. And I'm going to do that from the advanced search options here. And in the Venn diagram search, what the Venn diagram search does is it allows us to visually see how different search terms that we run relate to one another in the size of the results that we receive. So let's say we want to do right to education and the refugee and United States. I'm going to run that search. Give that a moment, because what it's actually doing as we ask it to search is it's actually running each one of these searches for those terms individually, and then it's going to effectively take them and lay them atop one another and allow us to kind of look at, compare and contrast the results to one another, whether it's all three at once or one at a time or kind of two to one and so on. Give this a moment. If it decides not to cooperate, I'll say uncle. We'll try a different one real quick. I wonder if my operators are messing that up. Apologize for the delay. I do know that we were, oh, okay. So in this case, I might have messed it up with my operators, but in this case, I can still show you exactly how the Venn diagram works, and you can go ahead and use the terms however you wish. Here, what you're seeing the Venn diagram do is it's giving us 13,000 results for the terms blue and sky and fraud. It's showing us where all of those terms, the results for those terms fall within the center of the Venn diagram. And then of course we can look and see how those terms relate to one another. So if I'm interested in just the results for blue and fraud, I can look here. And you can see we've gone from 13,000 results all the way up to 62,000, almost 63,000 results. If I want to see just Sky, now we're at 71,000 results, Sky and fraud, 22,005, and so on. So you can see how those relate to one another. And you can kind of just visually see that Sky is a much smaller data set as compared to blue, as compared to fraud. And it's a nice way to visually understand those data sets and how they compare to one another. So let's jump back. Let's go back to our databases and let's talk about now the articles. We talked a little bit about the publications within HeinOnline. Let's talk about articles. How do we find articles that are specific to a topic that I'm searching for? And in this case, we're interested in human rights and immigration. So again, I'm going to jump into the Law Journal library, and this is where we're going to use the Pathfinder subjects. And you may have heard us show different ways of using the Pathfinder subjects. I'm going to show you a little bit different way of going about and doing things here. Here, as you may have seen in the past, the Pathfinder subjects here are listed in text format. If I want to see, they're in a multi-step hierarchy. We have applied sciences, humanities, industries, natural and formal sciences, and social sciences. In social sciences, of course, we can expand them all, and I can do a find for immigration. You can see we have immigration and employment, for example. So maybe I want to look for, I'm going to click on immigration and employment, and it's going to show me all the different terms, or I'm sorry, all the different articles that we have that are related to that specific topic. Every single article within HeinOnline has been given at least one Pathfinder subject. In this case, you can see here, the first result that we received has health, migrant workers, immigration and employment, what we searched for, occupational safety and health, and so on. So there's many different topics that we're interested in here, or should I say subjects. Now, if we like this immigration and employment, but we're looking at 1,600, almost 1,700 results, maybe we want to now search within this, just like we did previously. I can do this search within results, and I can now narrow these. I can say, I'm going to look in the text and I'm going to do a search for right to work. And I'm going to now run that search. And what that's going to do is it's going to take that Pathfinder subject, and it's going to limit those results to we're going to look at do a search within just those articles that have that subject of immigration and employment, and we can search within those for the text of right to work. So now we're all the way down to 187 results, which it's a great kind of subset of material that really allows us to find exactly what it is that we're looking for. There's another way we can do that, and I'll show you. I'm going to go back to the advanced search. So maybe we haven't come in from the Pathfinder listing, but maybe we're here at the search box and we want to run some searches and then pick out a Pathfinder subject. So here we can do again, I'll do right to education. And now Pathfinder subjects, maybe I'm interested in migrant workers. Now I can run that search, and what it's going to do, instead of looking at right to education over 200 million pages of content, all 200 million pages of content, now it's going to say, I'm just going to search across the articles that have migrant workers selected as a subject for them. And then I'm going to look for the term right to education within that text, that subset's text. And now what we're seeing here is just specifically 54 results that discuss the right to education and migrants. So it's a fantastic way to really narrow down that search, find material that you're looking for without having to suss through hundreds of thousands of titles and hundreds of thousands of pages, or excuse me, hundreds of millions of pages. Now, one more search tool that we do have available, that would be the more like this tool. So let's say you're going through, you're doing your searching, you find an article that seems to be totally on point for what it is that you're looking for, but you want to find more articles that are related to that article and discuss the same topics. That's where we could pick out an article like legal protection for Indonesian migrant working children, a human rights perspective. We'll click on that article. And what we can now do is we can click on more like this. And what more like this is going to do for us is in real time, it's going to suss through that article. It's going to pull out what it deems to be interesting words, and it's going to weight those terms, those words, and run a new search for us. So you can see over here on the left-hand side of the screen, it's got the terms migrant workers, migrant, Indonesian migrant workers, children, Indonesian. And then you can see that these blue dots represent the weight that's been assigned to each one of those terms. Now I can reduce that weight if I wish, or I can leave it up where it is. I can even remove terms if I choose to remove those terms, or I can add additional terms that maybe the more like this tool didn't necessarily pick up on, or I think are more important than what the tool pulled out. But as it runs, as it is without any modification, it's effectively saying, hey, if you like that initial article of legal protection for Indonesian migrant working children, you should really like these articles as well. It is related, and this is all done using artificial intelligence technology. So here we see Indonesian migrant worker policies and the vulnerability of women migrant workers to becoming trafficking victims, a challenge to Indonesian post-migrant workers' welfare, and so on and so forth. So you can see very easily with a click of a button, we've opened up and we've expanded that search, and we found other relevant articles that should be very close to what it is that you're looking for. Now I can see that it's 2:27. I've taken up most of my time. I don't want to keep you all too long. I do like to point out and just remind you that we have a lot of support tools, a lot of different ways of contacting us and learning more about HeinOnline. First, I do want to point out you can contact us. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're on all the different platforms. We do have LibGuides available and a HeinOnline blog. All of our LibGuides are available. We have 70 of them and growing. We're always adding new LibGuides and new material for you to use. Please feel free to go in, use the LibGuides. If you have a library website and you need material for it and about HeinOnline, please feel free to take this material and use it. We do it for you as a resource. And then, of course, the HeinOnline blog. We put a tremendous amount of work and effort into making this blog a usable resource, not only for new product announcements and updates to content that we have in HeinOnline, but also interesting topics. Of course, you may be familiar with our Secrets of the Serial set, where we go through and do interesting articles about historical events and material within the Congressional Serial set. We do database announcements. We talk about topics such as copyright, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and so on. So we always encourage you to please check out the blog. We do put a lot of time and effort into it, and we think you'd find it very useful. So with all that being said, I hope that in just 30 minutes, I hope you got a decent overview of how you can go about using some different research strategies within HeinOnline to do some research about immigration and human rights within the database. And with all that being said, I hope you all had a great day. If there were any questions, I hope that Roxanne was able to help you out. And like I said, don't forget to register for next month's webinar. The links will be coming out soon.